Is this on?
It is.
Yeah. My name's Sheldon Combs. I'm with HMT and Associates, and I'm here to represent Don Fuch. Thank you for considering this plan. It's the plan that is to be, the sewer line is to be constructed under the maintenance shed with a 32-inch steel pipe and a 18-inch ductile iron pipe located within the center of the steel pipe. Walter Szynski has reviewed this plan, and I'm pretty certain that the municipal authority has approved our documents. So we would appreciate you considering this.
So this came up before the meeting, and we asked Dan to review this or look and just see that this was the final version.
Yeah, I did confirm that our office has reviewed the plan for the physical location of the line as previously approved by this board. So what they've done now is put meets and bounds on the line. They've provided a legal description. We reviewed that, passed that on to the solicitor, actually preparation, I guess, of the easement agreement, but we have to give them through the property. I think that's what Mr. McCombs is here tonight to ask for, is that easement agreement be processed, correct, Al?
Right.
Sure. So as you all recall, we previously had several meetings where we ultimately ended up with a memorandum of understanding between all the entities. So Cecil Township, the authority, and Mr. Fuch. And all I need to do is make sure I have all signatures on that agreement, so that's tightened up. I understand, I think I've heard from everyone that the authority's fine with it, we're fine with it, and Mr. Fuch is fine with it. Once we have that agreement, the next step is to actually then effectuate things like do the easement and things like that. So there are a series of steps that are laid out in the memorandum of understanding. So,
Make approval for them condition on your review.
sure, the easement has to be.
Right, assume everything else is done.
That's right. I'll just tie up the memorandum of understanding, but the easement itself has to be reviewed by us. I mean, no one's reviewed it. So yes, I mean, I haven't looked at it yet.
I'm pretty certain that
Yes, sir, go ahead.
the municipal authority has approved that memorandum.
That's what we were checking on, and it sounds as though Dan stated, or the engineer, that that was the final version.
Well, I stated that we reviewed the mathematics and the location of the line. Gretchen still needs to review the language in the easement.
Right.
We need to have the authority sign off on it.
I need to confirm that the authority signed off on it. After this board approved it, the authority did have some minor tweaks to the MOU. I don't have a fully executed agreement. I'd like to get that in place. That's the next thing I'm going to do. Then I'll move on to the easement.
Very well.
But
With the board.
is the board going to approve it tonight on all the necessary documents?
Tom made it. It's a motion with contingent. Would we have a second on that, or I don't know?
Wait a minute. There's a problem with this. If you read it, it says, nothing can be built or constructed over that 20-foot right-of-way. Donnie's here today. That's what it's on.
What's that?
You can't build that building back over that right-of-way, over that easement.
You're talking about the existing shed.
Correct.
Yeah, well, my understanding is that the shed remains. Any damage to the shed that takes place is borne upon the township.
No, you cannot build anything upon that right-of-way. It absolutely does. Dawn, does it say that?
I think Mr. McCombs has a copy of.
You have a copy of that?
I think that's the standard authority language. This is why Gretchen needs to review it, make sure it coincides with the memorandum of understanding. Because Oshinsky's making them put ductile iron pipe inside casing pipe so that there's never any issue here. So I'm sure we're going to be able to build it. That was the full intent of the memorandum, was that the building could be rebuilt wrong. But you bring up a good point. That's why the solicitor needs to review it, because that's standard language not to build anything on an easement. This is the exception.
Yes, so this particular shed was carved out of the MOU, if you recall, because it was already existing, and we carved it out and said, okay, other than this shed, this is what's going to be applicable to the easement. But the shed itself, we specifically carved out and took on ownership of any damage to that shed, should it be damaged in the process of going underneath it.
It was approved on a consensus that that shed was going to be torn down, and I got that straight from Walter. That's the only thing that was approved on.
No, that's not my understanding. There was no tear down shed. Now, if there's any damage to the shed.
No. It was approved by Walter on consensus that the shed was going to be torn down.
Well, that's different than what this board approved. So if they made that change afterwards, then we need to talk.
They didn't make the change. They didn't make no change.
Yeah, that's not what this board approved.
Cindy, you have a comment?
Can you just make sure you email us the agreement once it's finalized, so we just can take a look and make sure we don't have any
The
questions?
MOU.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the next thing I'm going to do. I'm going to get the signatures, look at the final changes that CTMA made,
Right,
and I will circulate that to everybody.
perfect, thank you.
Based on this being brought up under old business, would the board still like to proceed with approving it with conditions, or you'd like to table it, or?
No, the technical part, the dam review for us, it's a safe place for us. It's the best place we can possibly have it. Gretchen reviewing just to make sure all the signatures were there and make sure that the authority did sign off on it. If Walter had said something different, like Ron is implying, then Gretchen's going to see that. I know it didn't happen, but she can at least review that. That's part of her review.
You can call me that. No, you told them.
Sorry.
I'm
You
sure
all
that-
already approved the MOU. I will circulate that once I have final signatures.
Do we have to vote on this again?
You already approved the
That's what
MOU.
I thought.
The MOU sets into action a series of steps that would then happen in the future.
Right.
So,
There's nothing.
well,
This.
clearly, yeah, I mean, we need to do legal review of any easement and whatever else happens, obviously, but you agreed that the MOU was kind of like a conceptual framework.
Right, but there's nothing to vote on right now.
Child, do you have a copy of
I don't
that
think
easement
so. I
agreement?
didn't think so. Okay.
I'm sorry, what?
The easement, do you have a copy of that with you?
Yes, I gave it to you.
Yeah, I gave everybody a copy of that.
Do I have a copy of it?
I just wondered if you have one with you now.
Not at my desk. I gave it to you.
But they're wrong, the easement has to be granted by the township to the developer, who then will deed it to the authority, right? So it's, the conditions of the easement should be ours, because it's on our property.
The easement is ours, yes. The authority was interested in the specifications for the sewer line because that's theirs, but yes, the easement is ours to review and dictate.
The authority has reviewed the plan. It indicated the specifications and of how to construct this under the maintenance shed.
Okay,
I assume that everybody has the ability to revise or to modify the easement to allow this to be built under the shed.
got it. Yes, the MOU is the conceptual framework. That's what I am basing any future decisions upon. So we'll look at the MOU, I will circulate it to everybody, and then next I will look at the easement and review it.
Chow, where did the deed come from? The deed that you sent to us, where did the deed come from? Who wrote it? You wrote it, he wrote it.
Yeah, I haven't reviewed it yet.
Okay.
Yeah, well, let me say, I use the authorities
Standard.
standard.
Okay,
There we go, there's the.
Yeah.
we got it, okay.
That's why.
That's what
All right, we're fine. Thank you, Charles. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right. One last item, I guess it's new or old, but the investigation of the truck. Frank, did you want to address any of that, or?
Not really, I guess it's sort of an emergency situation where the truck went out of inspection and they needed one for the Parks and Rec. Like last time we went through, it's about ordering a service truck and a plow truck, in the future. Cindy, I think, stated that we should, have a different process, maybe doing some price shopping, that's all.
Okay, we're in order, or do you have directors going? You don't? May I get more of a pulse, so Cindy agrees, Tom, you have a comment on replacing the, could you describe that truck?
Essentially, it's just a Ford, a similar model 350 pickup, four-wheel drive.
Okay.
And
In this situation, it was an emergency, it wasn't prepared, or we weren't prepared to do this, or we had no choice. But in the future, I think if we are shopping for trucks, we've already discussed this. We need to
Right,
make
but I
sure
mean,
we have trucks.
like I said, I mean, this can still be shopped if the board prefers that I bid this out and you want to see what the bids.
No, I'm not saying that because we need this right now, I'm just saying like on future trucks.
I don't mind seeing it shopped out.
I can't speak for you, frankly.
Do you have any other comments? Shop it out? Comments?
I'd say shop it up, get the best price available.
You okay with that? Tom, Cindy?
That's fine, as long as there's some.
Please
level-
speak in the mic.
As long as there's some level of consideration, like if we have to drive, you know, to Indiana or something to pick up a truck to save $50, like that's not worth it.
Right.
So just, you know, there needs to be some level of common sense.
And Ron, you're on board, do you have any comments?
I replied to all these.
Okay. What was his response, or we need to know? No, we're for at least 4. Very well, so proceed with that. Any additional comments? Citizens' comments, general comments and questions, please. Anyone?